return to the land of your soul. Return to what you are. Return to who you are. Return to where you are. Born and reborn again. Return again. Return again. Return to the land of your soul. Shana Tova, and let me give you a warm virtual welcome. I am so happy to see a couple comments in the live stream chat already. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Rabbi Hannah Spiro. This is Michael Allen. We're honored to be leading the service this evening in this somewhat bizarre circumstance. We're also really grateful to Andrew Logan for live streaming this for us. And we want you to follow along and be as much of a part of this as possible. So a few sort of housekeeping notes. One, if you don't have a physical copy of the Machzor, the prayer book, you can find one online. If you go to the Havurah website, probably the same way that you found this link to go to this YouTube site, there's a link for the Machzor as well, the prayer book, as well as a wonderful supplement created by some of our lay leaders that we'll talk more about later throughout the high holidays. Also, there is ability to do this live chat on the YouTube. It's sort of like a Zoom chat in the sense that it's live, and I actually have my laptop in front of me so that I can see the comments. And yeah, it's a wonderful thing, so please use it. Yeah, and one more note, in case you're concerned, Michael and I both tested negative for COVID today, and we have this barrier between us. So I'll be giving that disclaimer throughout the high holidays. We'll be trying to keep on top of it, and just so you know, we're trying to be as safe as possible. We are so grateful to be here at Reformation, the Lutheran Church of the Reformation, as always. And I'm excited to invite Pastor Ben Hogue and Pastor Mike Wilker to offer some words of welcome to us.
Greetings, friends, and Shana Tova from all of us here at Lutheran Church of the Reformation. I'm Pastor Ben here with Pastor Mike to offer our sincere blessings to you as well as our thanks and gratitude. Over these many months when we have been apart as congregations, we have still been able to be in partnership and friendship with all of you. We are so grateful for your continued support and just the partnership we have, especially with your leadership. We are so grateful that we can serve alongside all of you, all of the neighbors here in the capital region. So thank you.
And as this is a time for sweet blessings and a joyful new year, we also know that it's a time to commit and to confess to one another how we failed each other and how we have sinned. And so in that light, we recognize that Lutherans today and throughout history have been anti-Semitic and have failed to be good neighbors to our Jewish siblings and have failed to be righteous in your eyes. And we're sorry for that, and we commit to doing better with you in the new year. And we are happy and glad that we can celebrate this new year and this holiday with you. So we hope that you and all of your families and households have a sweet and blessed time, and that we may all share in the fruits of the new year in God's grace.
Thank you so much. So I just want to acknowledge that, all of us are not only in different physical places this evening, but we're tuning into services for so many different reasons tonight. Some of us are trying to celebrate with the feeling of community, maybe physically distant, but on the same page. Some of us are really trying to activate ourselves to make some change. Some of us are truly here with the goal of healing and reflecting, and others simply wanting to connect with tradition and with our ancestors. And whatever brings you to this space this evening, you're so welcome, and I'm really looking forward to bringing in the new year together in all of the different ways that we're here. So let's read together on page 7. This night, as the new year begins, we come together as a community, yet each of us is strangely solitary.
Each of us comes here with special hopes and dreams. Each of us bears our own worries and concerns.
Each of us has a story no one else can tell. Each of us brings praise no one else can offer.
Each of us feels joy no one else can share. Each of us has regrets that others cannot know.
And so at this sacred time, we pray. If we are weary, may we find strength. If we are discouraged, may we find hope.
If we have forgotten how to share, may we teach each other and learn together. If we have been careless with one another, may we seek and receive forgiveness.
If our hearts have been chilled by indifference, may we be warmed by renewed purpose, inspired by the light of this holy night. In the 7th month, on the first day of the month, there shall be a sacred assembly, a cessation from work, a day of commemoration proclaimed by the sound of the shofar. May it be a day of renewal and rebirth, a day of remembrance and affirmation, a day of looking inward and stepping forward. On page 8, we read together.
We are here on this Rosh Hashanah Eve, poised somewhere between what we have been and what we wish to be.
We are here in celebration and in search, in judgment and embrace, ready to confront ourselves and the world in which we find ourselves this night.
We seek to open wide the windows we have hidden behind and to send forth heart and soul to learn where we have come from, what we have become, and what we hope to be.
As we begin the 10 days of tshuva, of return, we pause to honor those who came before us, who have illuminated our paths. To our Creator we pray, remember us unto life, inscribe us into the book of life. Sha'arei tzedek avovam odeya pitchu li sha'arei tzedek avovam odeya Tzadikim yava'u bo, zeh hashar l'Adonai. Tzadikim yava'u bo, pitchu li sha'arei tzedek avovam odeya. I'd like to invite Nellie and Chris Jikerin to lead us in a poem by Mark Freidenberg.
With each day, one gate closes and another opens.
I ask God to watch over me as I walk life's path from one gate to another.
Help me reach the gate of understanding.
Teach me to enter the gate of compassion.
Enable me to dance the gate of joy.
Comfort me when I pass through the gate of sorrow.
Guide me as I seek the gate of the Spirit.
Be with me through the gate of healing.
Show me the way to the gate of the heart.
Open for me the gates of righteousness, that I may enter them to praise you.
This is the gateway to God. The righteous shall enter there.
Yasher Koach. I'd now like to invite Eleanor and Aaron Hiller to lead us in our candle lighting for both Rosh Hashanah and also for Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu L'chad l'gner shel Shabbat v'shel Yom Tov. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who makes our lives sacred with commandments and binds us to kindle the light of Shabbat and this holiday.
May your light surround us always. May it shine on us and warm our souls. May the light in which we see each other, each of us different, all of us made in the image of God, burn brightly and illuminate our paths.
Yasher Koach. So as we approach a year full of unknowns, we also find joy and connection through sacred time. And we express a blessing for returning to a moment that is both familiar and yet completely new and completely different this year. Shehechianu, the bottom of page 9. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. On page 10, we sing a song for the beginning of the journey of this new year, full of challenge, mystery, and possibility. To invite Howard, Crystal, and Ann Mesnikoff to lead us on page 10.
In the beginning of God's unfolding of the heavens and the earth was wild and wasted, and darkness blackened the face of the deep. The breath of God hovered over the waters. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw the light, that it was good, and separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day and the darkness night, and there was evening and there was morning the first day.
Please read with me. May God, who continues to create, cause a new light to shine on us. May this light help us to see a path to righteousness. Blessed is the Creator of light.
The story of creation forms the central theme of our Rosh Hashanah. For the celebration of the new year is the commemoration of the first year. On this Rosh Hashanah, we celebrate the birthday of the universe, the origin of light and life.
May it be your will, God of our ancestors, for this new year to be sweet and good.
Just as the hand held before the eye can hide the tallest mountains, so the routine of everyday life can keep us from seeing the vast radiance and secret wonders that fill the world.
In your mercy, you give light to the earth and all its inhabitants. In your goodness, you renew each day the work of creation.
Tonight is the eve of the birth of the world. We thank you for the world you have created, for inviting us to be partners in its preservation. We cherish your gifts of place, of time, and of our humanity. May our efforts be worthy our transgressions few and benign. May we, who are your creation, have the wisdom to walk in your path.
Asher koach. Now I'd like to invite Lori Gunderson to share a story with us to prepare us for the call to prayer.
A story is told of a girl who one day went out into the fields. When she returned, her mother asked where she had been, and the child responded, "I went out to speak to God." Each day for some time, the girl would go outside, and when she returned, mother and daughter would participate in the same exchange. Finally, the mother asked the girl why she had to go out to the fields to speak to God. After all, God is the same everywhere. "Yes," replied the girl, "but I am not." As we rise to recite the Baruch Hu, may this congregation and this virtual space be a special place where we can speak to God.
Asher koach. Thank you. So before we rise for the call to prayer on page 11, I'd just like to make a note about the nusach, or the special melody that will carry it and many other prayers this evening. So a nusach, or a liturgical melodic theme, gives a service its special flavor. And our evening nusach on the high holidays is different from the morning nusach of the high holidays, which is different from our Shabbat nusach or our everyday nusach. So I invite you to join in this melody as you like, and we'll use it again on Kol Nidre. So please rise as you are able, in body or in spirit, for the call to prayer in the middle of page 11. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Please be seated. I now invite Amy Neville to lead us on page 12.
Twilight people. As the sun sinks and the colors of the day turn, we offer a blessing for the twilight. For twilight is neither day nor night, but an in-between. We are all twilight people. We can never be fully labeled or defined. We are many identities and loves, many genders and none. We are in between roles at the intersection of histories or between place and place. We are crisscross paths of memory and destination, streaks of light swirled together. We are neither day nor night. We are both, neither, and all. May the sacred in-between of this evening suspend our certainties, soften our judgment, and widen our vision. May this in-between light illuminate our way to the God who transcends all categories and definitions. May the in-between people who have come to pray be lifted up into this twilight. We cannot always define, we can always say a blessing. Blessed are you, God of all, who brings on the twilight.
Shakoach. Umavil yom, umevi laila, umavdil ben yom uben laila, Adonai tzivahot shemo, El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch Shemo.
Hamari v'avi.
Amen.
We move from our prayer for transitions in time to our prayer of transitions in spirit, returning to our best selves. As time rolls on and we welcome the new year, we become aware of the growth that does exist inside each of us. We sing together at the bottom of page 12. Hashivenu, Hashivenu, Adonai elecha. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. I'd like to invite Sheldon Harris to lead us on the bottom of page 13.
A human being is part of the whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. They experience themselves, their thoughts, and their feelings as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty.
Asher Koach, we transcend the boundaries of space and time, connecting to our ancestors and to one another with our declaration of divine unity, the Shema, page 14. Shema
Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
I'd like to invite the affirmation class of 5778, now known as the Chizuk class. These are this year's graduated seniors and college freshmen to lead us in Ve'ahavta.
הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשלוחך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
Asher Koach, we continue silently through the middle of page 15.
The passage through the Sea of Reeds was the birthing of the Jewish people. Our first act as a people, as a community, was to sing, not to pray, not to enact law, not to organize, but to sing.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedor ba'kodesh,
Nara
לפני משה, זה לי ענו ואמרו,
Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed.
ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
Amen.
תיקחו בחודש שופר, בכסה ליום חגנו, כי חוק לישראל הוא משפט לאלוהי הכל. While we await the confidence and the vigor of the shofar, or maybe relish in the blasts that we heard just an hour and a half ago around our city, we still approach this new year with deep concerns, fears, and uncertainties for ourselves, for our neighbors, for our country, and for our global community. We sing together our prayer for the peace and the sense of well-being that we all crave, that we all deserve, with Hashkivenu on page 17. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom V'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom. Hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom. Hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני, עשה את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ולעולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ולעולם. Please rise on page 18 as you are able for the Chatzi Kaddish. יתגדע ויתקדש שמך רבה,
Amen.
בעמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמך רבה מברך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה. יתברך, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה, שמי לקודשה בריחו לעילה ולעילה, מקרו ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה, ואמרו Amen. Our Amidah is our private moment of outpouring while standing all at once as a community. We'll sing the preliminary words together, Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, and then we'll continue silently, either using the traditional language on pages 20 through 27, or exploring what's within us. We've also added questions for reflection, as well as poetry, on pages 25 through 27, so spend time with that as well, or come back to it later. We'll join together again after our silent prayer, seated with Shalom Rav on page 25. So preparing for this time, we turn to face east, all in our different spaces, but facing toward the same place, toward the Kotel in Jerusalem. We take 3 steps backwards to make room, and we take 3 steps forward to approach. And we begin. Na 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 Adonai. Na 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 Sfatai Tiftach. Na 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 Ufi Yagid Tegilatecha. Na 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 Adonai. Na 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 Sfatai Tiftach. Na 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 Ufi Yagid Tegilatecha. 5, continuing at your own pace. Shalom Rava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רבה ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רבה ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. On page 28, we join together in Oseh Shalom, layering our prayers for peace, refusing to accept a status quo of violence and oppression, crying for Shalom al kol yoshvei tevel, for all who dwell on earth. Oseh Shalom במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ויאמרו אמן. So I'll begin with a poem. Perhaps the World Ends Here, by Joy Harjo, born in 1951. The world begins at a kitchen table. No matter what, we must eat to live. The gifts of earth are brought and prepared, set on the table. So it has been since creation, and it will go on. We chase chickens or dogs away from it. Babies' teeth at the corners. They scrape their knees under it. It is here that children are given instructions on what it means to be human. We make men at it. We make women. At this table, we gossip, recall enemies, and the ghosts of lovers. Our dreams drink coffee with us as they put their arms around our children. They laugh with us at our poor, falling down selves and as we put ourselves back together once again at the table. This table has been a house in the rain, an umbrella in the sun. Wars have begun and ended at this table. It is a place to hide in the shadow of terror, a place to celebrate the terrible victory. We have given birth on this table and have prepared our parents for burial here. At this table, we sing with joy, with sorrow. We pray of suffering and remorse. We give thanks. Perhaps the world will end at the kitchen table while we are all laughing and crying, eating of the last sweet bite. Again, that was a poem by Joy Harjo entitled, Perhaps the World Ends Here. And as many of us embark on a high holiday season where our sacred space is our kitchen table with a laptop propped up on it, or our back patio with our cell phone on a stand, or our couch with our TV set up with YouTube, we have to believe the poet. The world begins at the kitchen table in all the senses Harjo named and more. And as weird as it feels, with all of our home stuff around us, and likely barefoot, and maybe even in sweatpants, the world begins again today. This is obviously a bizarre year in many ways, and the way Rosh Hashanah feels over live stream is a clear example. But another smaller reason why Rosh Hashanah is a little bit different this year is that it's on Shabbat. This coinciding of Rosh Hashanah and Shabbat isn't rare. It actually occurs 28.6% of the time, but it's still odd. Instead of Rosh Hashanah interrupting us in the middle of the week, putting a stop to everything all on its own, it takes what would have already been a pause in time, a time of rest and relaxation, and turns it into something massive, a new year. Instead of resting as though all of creation has been completed and everything is set and perfected around us, we are called to imagine the act of creation, of recreation, and what we can do to improve ourselves and our world this year. Traditionally, there are a few ways that Rosh Hashanah on Shabbat has felt different from usual, and a couple of them are pretty major. Specifically, it's traditional not to blow the shofar at all on Shabbat, and it's also traditional not to sing Avinu Malkeinu on Shabbat. And I know that for a lot of folks, those are the things that make it really feel like Rosh Hashanah. If our congregation were affiliated with a movement such as Reform or Conservative Judaism, we'd have a relatively clear path delineated for us. Conservative congregations will almost always forego the shofar service and Avinu Malkeinu on Shabbat, and Reform congregations will almost always do them. But we're an independent Havurah, and so it's never obvious, to me at least, what we should do. 28.6% of the time, Michael and I will have this conversation. And this year, in particular, it felt clear to us. It felt clear that we needed to sing Avinu Malkeinu, which we'll do in a few minutes, and also have a shofar service, which will happen tomorrow morning. I'll say a bit more about why the shofar service tomorrow, but suffice it to say that this year of all years, we need that blast, that wake-up call, that reminder that our place in creation and recreation does indeed matter, and it is upon us now. If we need it while standing before an ark in a sanctuary with 600 fellow daveners standing together with us, how much more do we need it in the strange way we find ourselves today? Avinu Malkeinu feels a little more complicated. The reason it's traditional to forego it on Shabbat is that its words are so supplicatory. They point to all the things that we need, that we might not have, and ask for them. We need forgiveness. We need healing. We need a livelihood. We need to do a better job this year, and so much more. These needs, these hopes are so appropriate, so classic, so integral to Rosh Hashanah, but they're not very Shabbostic. When we focus our yearning for what we don't yet have, we don't give ourselves the opportunity to imagine that we do have all we need, that weekly experience of peace and fullness, of Shabbat Shalom. The two don't really gel. And yet, be real, as we live stream services from home, as I see your comments on the live stream chat and a few of you on Zoom, the only things tethering us to a sense of reality right now in this open this empty sanctuary, as we reflect on the broken state of our country and our world, as we attempt to look ahead to a year that still feels so unknown, so intangible, so surreal, the mournful, hopeful, mysterious melody of Avinu Malkeinu is practically begging to emerge from our mouths. We just can't get around it. It's not a normal Rosh Hashanah. It's not a normal Shabbat. It hasn't been for a long time, and it won't be for a long time. For me, it felt important to give us the space to offer these words this year especially. And as we prepare to sing Avinu Malkeinu, we have to hold in some small part of our minds that this year could be the year we yearn for, the year that we pray for each year at this time. As unpredictable as the year 5780 was, there is so much now unknown before us. And for those of us who are spending our existences at home right now, or far more of our existences than usual. For those of us who are physically isolated from the people we love or the places and activities that make us feel like us, it is especially important that we remember the world can begin at a kitchen table. The cooking, the tea, the Zoom meetings, the daydreams, these are real life. This is living. And our choices, our creations, they matter. Even hidden from the world, uncertain when we'll emerge, we continue to live and to have the power to change and to create. As Joy Harjo wrote, so it has been since creation, and it will go on. Shana Tova and Shabbat Shalom. We prepare for Avinu Malkeinu with sincerity and with openness. Please rise.
Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu Vaneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu Vaneinu, Ki ein banu masim. Aseh imanu tzedakah v'chesed. Aseh imanu tzedakah v'chesed v'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu Vaneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu Vaneinu, Ki ein banu masim. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha.
Source of life, sovereign of the universe, we have done wrong in your presence.
Avinu Malkeinu, ein lanu melech ela ata.
Our source, our sovereign, we have no one to rule over us but you.
Avinu Malkeinu, aseh imanu leman shemecha.
Our source, our sovereign, help us for the honor of your name.
Avinu Malkeinu, chadesh aleinu shana tova.
Our source, our sovereign, renew for us a good year.
Avinu Malkeinu, hafer atzat oivenu.
Our source, our sovereign, nullify the plans of any who may seek to do us harm.
Avinu Malkeinu, salach umachal achal avonoteinu.
Our source, our sovereign, grant forgiveness and atonement for all of our transgressions.
Avinu Malkeinu, achazirenu b'tshuva shlema lefanecha.
Our source, our sovereign, help us to return wholeheartedly into your presence.
Avinu Malkeinu, shalach refuah shlema lecholim.
Our source, our sovereign, send complete healing to all those who ail.
Avinu Malkeinu, katvenu b'sefer chayim tovim.
Our source, our sovereign, inscribe us for good fortune in the book of life.
Avinu Malkeinu, katvenu b'sefer geula v'yeshua.
Our source, our sovereign, inscribe us in the book of redemption and salvation.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kotveinu B'Sefer Parnasav Chalkala.
Our source, our sovereign, inscribe us in the book of sustenance and livelihood.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kotveinu B'Sefer Zechuyot.
Our source, our sovereign, inscribe us in the book of merit.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kotveinu B'Sefer Slicha Umechila.
Our source, our sovereign, inscribe us in the book of forgiveness and atonement.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chatzmach Lanu Yeshua B'Karov.
Our source, our sovereign, let grow for us the tree of imminent redemption.
Avinu Malkeinu, Zachor Ki Afar Anahachnu.
Our source, our sovereign, remember us though we are made of dust.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chamal Aleinu V'Al Olaleinu V'Tapenu.
Our source, our sovereign, be merciful to us and to all our offspring.
Avinu Malkeinu, Aseh Laman Harugim Al Shem Kadshecha.
Our source, our sovereign, act in memory of all those who have been killed while honoring your name.
Avinu Malkeinu, Aseh Laman Shimcha Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanara Shenikra Aleinu.
Our source, our sovereign, act in honor of your great and mighty, awe-inspiring name, which has been called out over us for our protection.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kanenu Vaneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Kanenu Vaneinu, Ki ein banu masim. Aseh imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed. Aseh imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed, v'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Vaneinu Vaneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Vaneinu Vaneinu, Ki ein banu masim.
Please be seated. In just a moment, I'd like to invite Susan Cohen to lead us in a prayer directed towards God's presence, Shekhinah, on page 31. And it's taught that the divine Shekhinah dwells within all of existence, accompanying us through all the twists and turns of our lives. We direct our hearts to that divine presence within each of ourselves and one another. Page 31.
Shekhinah, the source of our life, hear our prayer and have compassion for us. All together, Shekhinah,
the source
of our life, remember that we are your sons and daughters. Shekhinah, the source of our life, teach us to recognize our strength. Shekhinah, the source of our life, guide us in the way of pleasantness. Shekhinah, the source of our life, teach us compassion and tzedakah. Shekhinah, the source of our life, be with us for the sake of those who struggle for peace and justice. Shekhinah, the source of our life, turn our mourning to joy and our sadness to happiness. Shekhinah, the source of our life, bless our land and the work of our hands. Shekhinah, the source of our life, gather your children from the four corners of the earth. Shekhinah, the source of our life, complete the building of Jerusalem, your holy city.
Yasher Koach, page 32, for the community and our people. May the whole house of Israel, scattered over the earth, yet bound by a common history and united by a common heritage of insight and hope, find the courage to build upon its diversity and affirm its creativity.
May all whose lives are made hard because they are Jews find the strength to endure, and may we stand with them in their struggle to move from bondage to freedom, from darkness to light.
May each of us be blessed with wisdom. Let health, peace, and happiness reign in our homes and in our hearts. Let each of us commit ourselves to the other in a covenant of freedom.
Let us send healing thoughts and deeds of kindness to those in pain and anxiety. Let us be their refuge in times of trouble and aid them as they pass from weakness to strength, from suffering to consolation, from fear to courage.
Strange is our situation here upon earth. Each of us comes for a short visit, not knowing why, yet sometimes seeming to divine a purpose. From the standpoint of daily life, however, there is one thing we do know, that we are here for the sake of others. Above all, for those upon whose smile and well-being our own happiness depends, and also for the countless unknown souls with whose fate we are connected by a bond of sympathy. I'd like to invite Leslie Feeder to lead us in a prayer for peace at the bottom of page 32.
God, may it be your will to put an end to war and bloodshed on earth, and to spread a great and wonderful peace over the whole world, so that nation shall not lift up sword against nation, nor shall they learn war anymore.
Yasher koach. Od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam, aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, shalom. Salam, salam, aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, shalom. Od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam, salam, aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, shalom. Salam, salam, aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, shalom. Tomorrow morning is really what's going on tomorrow. Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. We have services, and then the kids' services in the afternoon are exactly what was said. But there's also one more thing I want to add, which is that there's an opportunity for us to bring donations for the East of the River Mutual Aid Network this week. So if you look at the High Holiday section of the Havurah's website, you scroll down, there should be a blurb about what to bring and where to bring it. There are two different members' homes, one in Northeast, one in Southeast. We would love to see a lot of donations in honor of the Chagim to help our community members who could really use it. And if any of that was confusing, and I imagine it was, go on the website and you should be able to figure it out pretty easily. But now as we begin to conclude our service, to lead us in Aleinu on page 33, I'd like to invite the Chizuk class of 5779, this year's high school seniors. Please rise. Yasher Koach. You may be seated. I'd now like to invite Patty and Steve Kolb to lead us in the words of Judy Chicago in the middle of page 35.
And then all that has divided us will merge. And then compassion will be wedded to power. And then softness will come to a world that is harsh and unkind. And then both men and women will be gentle.
And then both women and men will be strong. And then no person will be subject to another's will. And then all will be rich and free and varied.
And then the greed of some will give way to the needs of many. And then all will share equally in the earth's abundance. And then all will care for the sick and the weak and the old.
And then all will nourish the young. And then all will cherish life's creatures. And then all will live in harmony with each other.
And then everywhere will be called Eden once again.
Yasher Koach. I'd now like to invite Mark and Kay Levinson and Lenny Braverman to lead us on pages 36 and 37 as we prepare to honor our loved ones who have passed on and who, through memory and action, we prepare to bring with us into the new year.
At the rising of the sun and its setting, we remember them.
At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them.
At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them.
At the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer, we remember them.
At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them.
At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them, for they are now a part of us as we remember them.
When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them.
When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them.
When we have joy we crave to share, we remember them.
When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember them.
When we have achievements that are based on theirs, we remember them. As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them.
The Kaddish is among the best known and most frequently recited Jewish prayers. It is recited during the 11 months of mourning and on the subsequent anniversaries of the death of a loved one. The Kaddish was not originally intended as a prayer for mourners and does not include a syllable about death. It seems altogether silent about those thoughts that are likely to fill the mourner's mind and heart. And yet, the Kaddish makes several vital affirmations which relate directly to the mourner. The Kaddish offers a reassurance of inner peace and serenity. The Kaddish challenges mourners to contribute their energies to the making of a better world. Reciting the Kaddish is a link with the past, a gracious way to honor the dead and ennoble the living.
Shakoach, thank you. I now call on all who are in mourning and all who are observing a yahrzeit to rise on page 37. And if you'd like to share the name or the names of the folks you're remembering in the comments of the live stream, we'll all be able to see it. If it's your custom to rise for the mourner's Kaddish, you may do so. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei haba, be'alma divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uvyomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, v'agala uvizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shemei rabba mebarach le'alam ameh amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'al v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yit'halal shemei dekudasha v'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'romav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and accompaniment to all who remember. And let us say, Amen. You may be seated as we turn to page 39 for our closing song before our final blessings. Yigdal, page 39. Yigdal Elohim chai v'yishtabach, נמצא באמת אל מציאותו אחד ואין יחיד כייחודו, נעלם וגם אין סוף לאחדותו, אין לו דמות הגוף ואינו גוף, לא נערוך אליו קדושתו, קדמון לכל דבר אשר נברא, ראשון ואין ראשית לראשיתו, הינו אדון עולם לכל נוצר, יורה גדולתו ומלכותו, שפע ויודעתו נתן אוהל, לאנשי סגולתו ותפארתו, לא קם בישראל כמו שעוד, נביא ומביט את אמונתו, תורת אמת נתן לעמו אל, על יד נביאו נאמן ביתו, לא יחליף האל ולא ימיר דתו, לעולמים לזולתו, צופה ויודע שתערנו, מביט בסוף דבר בקדמתו, גומל לאיש חסד מפעלו, נותן לרשע רע גרישתו, תשלח לקצונים משיחנו, לפתות מחכה קץ ישועתו, מתים יחייל ברוך עשו, ברוך עדי עד שם תהילתו, מתים יחייל ברוך עשו, ברוך עדי עד שם תהילתו. I love seeing all your beloveds' names in the live chat. If you haven't put them in yet and you want to, please keep doing it. This is beautiful. Let's bless each other together at the bottom of page 40. V'shana tova tikatenu v'techatenu. May a good year be written and sealed for you. I'd now like to invite Mira and Daphne Soskis to lead us in the Kiddush on page 41.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen. Blessed are you, our God, sovereign of the universe, by whose power fruit comes forth from the vine. Amen.
Amen. Yasher koach. And I'd now like to invite Nate Allen, Sarah Burford, and Reza Allen Burford to lead us in Hamotzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova, Yasher Koach. And last but not least, I'd like to invite Joel Kelty, Rebecca Sobel, and Ethan and Maya Kelty to lead us in our blessing over apples and honey.
Yehi ratzon milfanecha, Adonai Eloheinu, ve'Elohei avotenu, ve'imotenu, shechadesh aleinu, shana tova u'metucha.
Yehi ratzon.
May it be your will, Adonai, our God, and the God of our ancestors, that you renew us for a good and sweet year.
Amen. Yasher Koach. Shana Tova U'Metucha, a good and a sweet new year. I would like to thank from the bottom of my heart all the folks who made this happen. From the folks who commented on the live stream, to the folks who got in our little mini minion Zoom room and commented on that. Michael Allen, leading with you is always just the most wonderful thing. Andrew Logan from Logan Sound for live streaming this. Alan Schusterman, Danny Tamaris, my amazing coworkers, and so many lay leaders put so much into all the behind the scenes stuff that goes into virtual things that you don't get to see. But I'm really looking forward to connecting with you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. for our Rosh Hashanah morning service. And with that, enjoy your dinners.